Ethan Cross felt the ship shudder as warning lights painted the cockpit red. The frozen planet below looked like a tomb of ice and bitter wind. His rescue mission had gone wrong. When the navigation system failed near the outer rim, emergency landing protocol activated. The computer announced in that calm voice that always seemed inappropriate during disasters. Ethan gripped the controls and aimed for a flat stretch between jagged ice formations. The impact threw him forward against his restraints. Pain shot through his shoulder as metal groaned around him. When the world stopped spinning, found himself staring through cracked glass at an endless white landscape, he stumbled from the wreckage, emergency pack in hand. The cold hit him like a physical blow, stealing his breath. But something else caught his attention: footprints in the snow. Too small to be human. Following the trail, he discovered a figure collapsed behind a ridge of ice. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her skin held a soft blue luminescence, and delicate patterns traced her arms like living tattoos. Silver hair spread across the snow like spilled starlight. Beside her lay another of her kind, clearly dead from massive injuries. The living one's eyes fluttered open as Ethan approached. They were large and violet, filled with pain and wariness. "Don't be afraid," Ethan said softly, though he doubted she understood. He knelt beside her, noting the strange clothing that seemed to shift color with her emotions. Currently, pulsed a deep purple that he somehow knew meant distress. She spoke in a melodic language he couldn't place, then switched to broken English. "Friend, ... gone. Ship ... broken." Ethan examined her injuries. A deep gash across her ribs needed immediate attention. "I'm going to help you," he said, pulling medical supplies from his pack. She flinched when he reached toward her, then seemed to make a decision. She placed one luminescent hand over her heart and spoke a single word that sounded like wind chimes. "Zara." "Ethan," he replied, pointing to himself. Her lips curved in what might have been a smile as he cleaned and bandaged her wound. She watched his face with intense curiosity. Her skin was warm despite the cold, and he noticed tiny lights beneath the surface that pulsed with her heartbeat. "Your people," she said carefully. "They come for you." Maybe, Ethan admitted. If Captain Victor can track the emergency beacon? Zara's expression grew troubled. "My people. They think I am dead. Nix and I, we were scouts." She gestured to her fallen companion. Looking for a new home, the wind picked up, driving snow across them in stinging sheets. Ethan looked back at his damaged ship, then at Zara. She was trying to hide her pain, but he could see the tremors running through her body. "We need shelter," he said. "Can you walk?" She struggled to her feet with his help, leaning heavily against his side. Together, they made their way to his ship. Leaving the dead alien behind in the snow, inside the tilted cockpit, Ethan activated the emergency heater. Zara examined the human technology with obvious fascination, her patterns shifting to a warmer gold color. "Rest now," Ethan said, offering her his thermal blanket. "Tomorrow we figure out how to survive this place." As Zara settled beside him in the small space, he realized his rescue mission had become something entirely different. He was no longer just trying to survive. He was protecting something precious and alien and beautiful. Outside, the wind howled across the ice. But inside their tiny shelter, two beings from different worlds began to discover what it meant to trust beyond. Specious morning light filtered through the cracked cockpit glass, casting rainbow patterns across Zara's sleeping face. Ethan had spent most of the night watching those subtle lights beneath her skin pulse in rhythm with her dreams. She stirred as he moved, those large violet eyes opening with immediate alertness. For a moment, fear flickered across her features before recognition settled in. "How do you feel?" Ethan asked, checking the bandage on her ribs. The wound looked better already. Her people seemed to heal faster than humans. "Better." Her English was improving rapidly. "Your kindness? It is not what we were told about humans." That caught his attention. "What were you told?" Zara sat up carefully, her clothing shifting to pale blue. "That humans are violent, territorial, that they destroy what they cannot understand." She paused. "But you saved me." You honored Nyx with gentleness. Ethan felt a pang of guilt, knowing there was truth in her words. Not all humans are the same. Just like I imagine, not all of your people are identical. The Kyathi, she said. And somehow he knew that was her species' name. We are dying, Ethan. Our sun grows cold, and our world becomes ice. That is why Nyx and I came so far from home. She stood and walked to where he had placed his portable scanner. With graceful movements, she activated controls he hadn't even known existed on the device. Your technology is primitive, she said without cruelty, but it has potential. Ethan watched in amazement as she modified his equipment, her fingers dancing over the controls. The scanner began displaying information in ways he had never seen before. Show me, he said, moving closer to her as she explained the readings. He became aware of her scent, like ozone after a thunderstorm, but sweeter. When she leaned against him to point at the display, her warmth seemed to seep through his clothes. Here, she said, underground thermal vents. We could move the ship closer, have more power for heating. You want to help me repair my ship? Zara's patterns shifted to that golden color again. We help each other. That is what friends do. The word friends hung between them, carrying more weight than it should have. Ethan found himself studying the delicate architecture of her face, the way her silver hair caught the light. Friends, he agreed. They worked together through the morning. And Ethan discovered that Zara was brilliant with technology. Her understanding of energy systems far exceeded his own. But she listened patiently as he explained human engineering principles. Your people build for destruction, she observed, examining his ship's weapon systems. Ours build for harmony. Maybe that's why you're dying, and we're expanding across the galaxy, Ethan said. Then immediately regretted his harshness. Zara went very still. Her patterns dimmed to almost nothing. You think survival justifies cruelty? No, Ethan said quietly. I think maybe we have things to learn from each other. She looked at him for a long moment and smiled, the first real smile he had seen from her. It transformed her entire face, making those alien features suddenly startlingly beautiful as they moved the ship closer to the thermal vents. Working in careful coordination, Ethan felt something shifting between them. Every accidental touch sent electricity through him. When she laughed at his clumsy attempt to pronounce Kyathi words, the sound made his chest tighten. That evening, as they shared his emergency rations, Zara told him about her world. She painted pictures with her words, crystal cities that sang in the wind, oceans that glowed with bioluminescent life, mountains that touched the stars. It sounds beautiful, Ethan said. It was Zara replied, her voice heavy with loss. But beauty cannot survive in cold and darkness. Without thinking, Ethan reached out and took her hand. Her skin was impossibly soft, and those lights beneath the surface pulsed brighter at his touch. Maybe you'll find a new kind of beauty. He, said Zara, stared at their joined hands. Her patterns cycling through colors he was beginning to understand meant complex emotions. When she looked up at him, something had changed in her expression. Yes, she whispered. Maybe I already have. The ship's heater hummed around them. But suddenly, the air felt charged with possibility and danger, and the first stirrings of something that transcended species. The third day brought a blizzard that howled around their ship like a living thing. Ethan and Zara huddled together near the thermal heater, sharing warmth as the temperature outside plummeted beyond survival. Tell me about your family, Zara said, her head resting against his shoulder. Her patterns had settled into soft blue and silver. Colors he was learning meant contentment. My parents died in the Titan colony wars, Ethan replied, watching snow pile against the viewport. Captain Victor took me in, trained me as an engineer. The crew became my family. And now you are here. Far from them, and you are far from yours. Zara's hand found his, fingers intertwining in a gesture that felt natural despite their differences. My sister Kaylin leads our people now. She sent Nyx and me to find hope among the stars. Did you find it? Ethan asked. Instead of answering, Zara lifted her free hand and pressed her palm against the frosted glass. The surface began to glow with gentle warmth, melting the ice into intricate patterns. "Your people have such gifts," Ethan said in wonder. "Not gifts. Evolution. When our sun began to die, we learned to create our own light, our own heat. But it is not enough for a whole world." She turned toward him, and in the close quarters her face was mere inches from his. Those violet eyes seemed to hold the depth of space itself. "May I show you something?" she asked. At his nod, she pressed both hands to his temples. Suddenly, images flooded his mind, not painful, but overwhelming in their beauty. He saw Kyathi cities at their height, beings of light and grace moving through crystalline structures that defied physics. He felt the desperate sorrow as their sun dimmed, the agonizing decisions about who would be sent to scout new homes, and he felt something else. Zara's emotions, raw and honest. Her growing fascination with him, the way his kindness had shattered her preconceptions about humans, the loneliness that had been her constant companion, and how it had begun to fade in his presence. When the connection ended, Ethan was breathless. I felt what you felt. Kyathi bond through touch and shared consciousness. It is how we truly know each other." Her pattern shifted to deep gold shot through with rose. "I wanted you to know me." The intimacy of the moment hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they should cross. Ethan reached up and touched her cheek, marveling at the way lights danced beneath her skin. "You're beautiful," he said, meaning more than just her appearance. Zara's breath caught. Ethan ... double quotes. The ship's communication system crackled to life, shattering the moment. Victor's voice filled the small space. It's distorted by static but unmistakably authoritative. "Ethan Cross, respond if you can hear this. We've tracked your beacon. Estimated arrival in 18 hours. Ethan felt Zara tense beside him. Her patterns shifted to darker hues, fear, uncertainty. "Preparation for loss. They will take you away," she said quietly. "They'll try to take us both to safety." Zara shook her head. "Humans do not trust what they do not understand. I have seen your history broadcasts, learned your languages from intercepted transmissions. Your people and mine, ... She trailed off. "Have never tried to coexist," Ethan finished. "But maybe we could be the first." That night, as the storm raged outside, they held each other for warmth. Ethan felt the steady rhythm of Zara's dual hearts against his chest, heard the soft harmonics she hummed in her sleep. Somewhere during the dark hours, warmth became something more. Zara's patterns brightened as his hands traced the luminescent paths along her arms. When she kissed him, it was like touching starlight, electric and warm, and unlike anything he had ever experienced. "This is forbidden by both our peoples," she whispered against his lips. "Then maybe both our peoples are wrong," he replied. They made love slowly, carefully mapping each other's differences and marveling at unexpected similarities. Her skin glowed brighter with passion, creating a galaxy of light in their small shelter. Afterward, as she traced patterns on his chest with fingers that left brief trails of light, Ethan realized his life had divided in two before and after this moment. "What happens when they come?" Zara asked. "I don't know," Ethan admitted. "But whatever happens, we face it together." Outside, the storm was beginning to fade. With dawn would come decisions that could change everything. The choice between World's Victor's ship appeared. On the horizon, like a dark spear against the morning sky, Ethan watched it descend while Zara stood beside him, her patterns cycling through colors of anxiety and resignation. "They are afraid," she said, reading the ship's aggressive approach pattern. "Their weapons are charged." Ethan's stomach tightened. He activated his communicator. "Victor, this is Ethan. I'm safe, but I have someone with me." "She's not hostile." Static crackled before Victor's voice responded. "Ethan, thank God." "What do you mean, someone?" "The bioscanners show non-human life signs. Her name is Zara. She's from the Kyathi. Her people need our help." The silence stretched long enough that Ethan wondered if the transmission had failed. When Victor spoke again, His voice was hard. "Step away from the alien, Ethan." "We'll handle this, Victor." "No. She saved my life." "That's an order, son." The ship landed 50 meters away, and Ethan watched armed Marines emerge. They moved with practiced efficiency, weapons trained on Zara, despite her obvious lack of threat. Victor approached with his helmet retracted, his weathered face grim. "Ethan, you've been through trauma. Sometimes survivors develop attachments to their captors. She didn't capture me," Ethan said, moving protectively in front of Zara. "She was injured, dying. I helped her, and now she's manipulated you into protecting her," Victor replied. "It's classic alien psychological warfare." Zara stepped forward, her hands raised and empty. When she spoke, her English was clear and careful. "Captain Victor, I mean no harm to you or your people. I seek only survival for mine." Victor's hand moved to his sidearm. "And how many human colonies have your people surveyed for survival? How many of our worlds have you marked for invasion?" "None," Zara said simply. "We explore empty systems, worlds without intelligent life. We are not conquerors. They never are, until they are," Lieutenant Hayes called out, at his rifle trained on Zara's center mass. Ethan felt rage building in his chest. "She shared her memories with me, Victor. I've seen their world dying. They're refugees, not invaders." "Memories can be fabricated," Victor replied. "Neural implants, psychological conditioning. We've seen alien manipulation before." The situation was spiraling beyond Ethan's control. He could see the fear in the Marines' eyes, the way they viewed Zara as a threat rather than a person. Everything about their posture screamed violence, waiting for an excuse. Zara seemed to sense it too. Her patterns shifted to the deep purple he recognized as distress, but she kept her voice steady. "I will come with you peacefully." "But please, let me show you what I showed, Ethan. Let me prove my truth. Don't trust anything she puts in your head," Hayes warned. Victor studied Zara for a long moment, then looked at Ethan. "You really believe she's harmless?" "I believe she's desperate," Ethan said. "And I believe she's telling the truth about her people." "Then you've been compromised," Victor concluded. Hayes secured the alien. "We'll sort this out on the ship?" "No." Ethan stepped between the Marine and Zara. "If you want her, you go through me." The standoff stretched taut as a wire. Ethan could feel Zara's tension behind him, could see the conflict in Victor's eyes. The man had raised him, trained him, been the closest thing to a father he'd ever known. "Ethan," Victor said quietly, "you're forcing me to choose between you and the safety of human space. And you're forcing me to choose between you and everything I know is right." Zara's hand touched his shoulder, light as a whisper. "Ethan, do not destroy your relationships for me. I will go with them." "No," Ethan said firmly. "We go together, or we stay together." Victor's expression hardened. "Then you're both under arrest." Hayes stunned them both. As the Marine raised his weapon, Ethan made a choice that would define the rest of his life. He triggered the emergency beacon on Zara's damaged scout ship, sending a distress call that would reach her people. "What did you do?" Victor demanded. "What you taught me," Ethan replied. "I protected someone who couldn't protect themselves." Zara's patterns brightened to brilliant gold as she understood. In her musical language, she spoke words that needed no translation: gratitude, love, hope. The Marine's stun blast caught them both. But as consciousness faded, Ethan felt Zara's hand in his and knew he had chosen correctly. When two worlds collide, someone has to build a bridge. Ethan woke in the ship's brig, his head pounding from the stun blast. Zara lay unconscious in the adjacent cell, her patterns dim, but still cycling slowly, a sign she was alive and healing. Victor stood outside the energy barriers, his face a mask of disappointment and concern. "The Kyathi responded to your signal," he said without preamble. 3 ships, heavily armed. They want their scout back." "She has a name," Ethan said, struggling to sit up. "And they're not heavily armed. They're desperate. Their weapons could carve up this ship like paper," Victor replied. "We're outnumbered and outgunned." Zara stirred, her eyes fluttering open. When she saw Ethan in the neighboring cell, relief flooded her features. "You are safe." "For now," Victor said grimly. "Your people have given us 1 hour to release you, or they open fire." "They will not," Zara said with quiet certainty. "Kyathi do not begin violence, but they will defend their own." Through the ship's communication system came a new voice, melodic and powerful, speaking accented English. "I am Kalen of the Kyathi. Return my sister, and we will depart in peace." Victor activated the comm. "This is Captain Victor of the Terran Federation. Your sister attacked one of my officers." Ethan shot to his feet. "That's a lie." "She manipulated him," Victor continued. "Used alien psychology to compromise his judgment." Sister Zara called out in her own language, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate through the ship's hull. The response came immediately. Not words, but a sound like singing wind that filled the air with warmth and longing. "She grieves for you." Kellen's voice returned in English. "As I grieve? Return her, Captain Victor, and let us find peace between our peoples." Hayes entered the brig, his expression conflicted. "Captain, the alien ships? They're not positioned for attack. They're in a protective formation around us." Victor frowned. "Protective? Our sensors show massive energy signatures approaching from the rim," Hayes continued. "Unknown ships, definitely hostile. The Kyathi have placed themselves between us and the threat." Understanding dawned on Ethan. "They're protecting us." Victor's certainty wavered. He looked between Ethan and Zara, then activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands, battle stations." Hayes dropped the brig barriers. As the energy fields dissipated, Zara rushed to Ethan's side. Her touch flooded him with shared sensations. She could feel the approaching danger through her. Ship's connection to her people. "Raiders," she explained quickly. "They follow rescue signals, attack when ships are vulnerable." Victor's face went pale. "How do you know this?" "Because they killed half my scouting fleet," Zara replied. "Why do you think Nix and I crashed?" "We were running from them." The ship shuddered under weapon fire. Victor's comm crackled with reports of hull breaches and failing shields. "Captain," Kellen's voice came through the chaos, "allow us to assist. Together, we can drive them off." Victor looked at Ethan, then at Zara. Years of military doctrine warred with the evidence before his eyes. "Do it," Ethan urged. "Trust her people like she trusted you." Victor made his decision. "All ships, coordinate defensive patterns. Follow the Kyathi lead." What followed was the most beautiful display of combat Ethan had ever seen. The Kyathi ships moved like dancers, their weapons creating cascades of light that turned destruction into art. The human ship, clumsy by comparison, nevertheless found its place in the pattern. Together, they drove off the raiders. In the aftermath, as damage reports filtered in and medical teams tended the wounded, Victor found Ethan and Zara on the observation deck. "The Kyathi medical teams are helping our injured," Victor said quietly. "Their technology is healing wounds our medics couldn't touch." "They want to help," Zara said simply. "It is what we do." Victor studied her for a long moment. "What do your people need?" "Sanctuary," she replied. "Worlds where we can rebuild, contribute to something greater than ourselves. And what does humanity get in return?" Zara smiled, her patterns brightening to warm gold. "Partners among the stars? Friends who understand that survival means cooperation, not conquest." Victor nodded slowly. "I'll speak to the Federation Council. No promises, but maybe it's time we tried something different." As Victor left, Ethan took Zara's hand. Through the viewport, the Kyathi ships maintained their protective formation around the human vessel. "Your sister will want you back," Ethan said. There's patterns as patterns shifted to that rose gold color he was learning meant love. "Kellen knows my heart. She will not ask me to choose between my people and yours. And what if the Federation says no to the alliance?" "Then we find another way," Zara said simply. "Love transcends politics, Ethan. What we have built here, what our peoples accomplished together, this is stronger than fear. She pressed her palm to the viewport, and for a moment, the stars seemed to pulse in response to her touch. Besides, she added with a smile that held all the warmth of dying suns and newborn galaxies, someone needs to teach your people how to really dance among the stars. As Ethan kissed her, the lights beneath her skin blazed bright enough to paint the observation deck in colors that had no human names. Outside, 2 fleets moved in perfect harmony through the endless dark, carrying the first seeds of something unprecedented. Love had indeed transcended the cosmos, and the universe would never be the same. The end.